I'm Brian Fargo. I'm the studio head of In Exile.
So Brian, what are you showing here at E3 2019?
I'm not showing anything. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just here to hang out.
Yeah, what do you mean? No, we showed a little sneak trailer of Wasteland 3 here at E3.
So talk about what your team learned from Wasteland 2 that you've applied and improved upon in its sequel.
So we did the first Wasteland a long time ago, right? Prior to Fallout and everything else. And when we bridged the gap from Wasteland 1 to 2, it was like a 20-year gap. But Wasteland 2 was only a couple of years ago. And so we really honed in on, we know what everybody loves about the series, right? We know what they love about the combat system in terms of the cause and effect and the reactivity. So we've taken the things that they loved and just put everything on steroids for it. So we've visually, we've dialed it in. We've done voice for everything in the product. We've also done a better job of surfacing the reactivity, right? There's a ton of deep reactive content, more so than people I think even realize with Wasteland 2. So we've really surfaced it so people that know it's there. The soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal. The visual payoff in terms of in combat, what happens in terms of jibbing people, the physics. There's a multiplayer component now. There's a car that you get into in the game, and so really in every way we've made the game sort of bigger and better. And again, thanks to Microsoft, you know, they acquired us last year, and they've said, hey, here's more resources, here's more money, here's more time, which is the best thing any developer could ever have, and we're taking advantage of all of it.
Wasteland 2 was a crowdfunded project. So can you talk about just crowdfunding in general, what you feel that opens up for developers? I know you don't need to do it anymore, but when you did, what that opened up for you back then?
Well, the thing that it opened up for us is that you know, we like to make a particular kind of game. You know, we have our own kind of weird, dark sense of humor of the type of product we do. We make a deep kind of tactical RPG in this case, and it creatively we get to do anything we want. And so we went to our fans with Wasteland 2. Here's what we want to do. They said, we trust you. We raised $3 million and we delivered the game. And so creatively, you get to do whatever you want, and there's no milestones with crowdfunding. It's just, hey, deliver it and focus on the end goal. And so we got that out of Wasteland 2, and we crowdfunded Wasteland 3, same thing. But then also now we've got Microsoft, which is again on steroids again, which is, hey, here's some more money, do the same thing again. So we're very fortunate.
You talk about some of the environments and characters we'll run into in Wasteland 3.
We've been in the desert for the first two, so we wanted to take it into the cold. We took it up to Colorado. We wanted to deal with all the effects of cold and what we did, even from a visual perspective of breathing and seeing your breath, but also and how the cold affects you and your rangers in surviving in the elements. As far as the characters, it's mostly new characters. We have a few that just mysteriously got there. Doesn't matter how they got there, but they did. And then there's a few surprise characters that we don't want to kind of tip our hat yet on how they got there, but which we'll discuss in the story. But by primarily, it's a new locale and it's new people. I mean, the Patriarch is a guy. The basic story is, you know how there's all these like doomsday preppers that are around in these areas? Well, they were right. So the bombs dropped, and they were ready. They were the guys that were ready for it. So these doomsday preppers, which are real Americana, you know, sort of God bless America type patriots, have taken over Colorado. And this guy, the Patriarch, who runs this place, and these are very eccentric, devout group of people, have called you in to kind of sort of help shake things up in terms of dealing with a family squabble, and so the Rangers have come in to help deal with the problem.
Can you talk about any new like perks and talents you'll be able to unlock for the character you're controlling?
I mean, I remember Asshole was one particular one. you can have origin stories for your characters and pick different backgrounds. You know, I think Circus Freak, I think, is one of them. I mean, you know, we you know, we have an odd sense of humor when it comes to these games.
What's it been like? Because you were in the trenches during the peak of the isometric RPG craze, and then when it crashed because all developers wanted to do was 3D games. 3D games was the new thing, and now they're coming back with quite a ferocity. I mean, you know, Pillars of Eternity did incredibly well. What's it been like seeing that, just being in that place at that time and seeing it come back again?
We're like, we told you so. Yeah, I know, it's funny because, you know, in the late 90s, that's all it was, right? And then you couldn't get anybody to finance at all, which was, that's where Kickstarter became so great. I mean, to me, you know, Kickstarter was it was more about the excitement about what people were missing than what they were getting, right? Because they were missing out on getting these great isometric RPGs, or in the case of Tim Schafer, they were missing out on the classic, you know, point-and-click adventure games. And so we were helping fill some of those things because we knew they were really great, fun experiences that had gone away, not for good reasons, because people I knew for all these years were asking us to do that. And so, yeah, they are coming back with a vengeance. Of course, Divinity Original Sin 2, mega hit, right? And so turns out, yeah, they are a lot of fun to do, and there's still a lot of room creatively to try things in. And so whether it's with multiplayer functionality and some other sort of innovations that you can do.
You released Wasteland 2 on console. Was there any difficulty in transporting the controls in Wasteland 3 to consoles? Like, I know if I talked to you 25 years ago, you'd be like, absolutely not. There's no way an isometric HP would ever work on console, but people are finding ways now.
Yeah, well, we even got Wasteland 2 on the Switch, which I would have said it was impossible to do,
yeah,
right?
Right.
Yeah, so, you know, the two challenges really are the UI and reading the text on the screen. I mean, those are the hardest parts. I think we've really got the controller dialed in terms of UI. And it also turns out that even on PC, there are people that like to play their games with a control pad, right? I mean, we have that on PC. So even on PC, you have that no matter what. And then on the font issue, you just have to give a lot of different options. And then we also do a lot more voiceover, which also helps take care of that. So I think we're doing a good job, as are others, in terms of making it work and make it be a console experience. For us, all I care about is we have a lot more people playing our games. That's all that matters to me. You know, that's why we're fascinated with what Microsoft's doing with Game Pass, because if they want to put it into a subscription business, and you know, I love it that if like 1 million people are playing our game like the night we launch. I love that stuff. So we can't get enough of that.
Yeah, we're starting to see a more pinch toward games as a service. As a game designer, what are your thoughts on that?
In terms of an ongoing service,
yeah,
functionality,
either
right?
that or like if you made a Wasteland 3 and then you just kept continually adding on content for like as much as people were willing to pay for it, that kind of thing too.
Yeah, so there's a lot of gradation in that. I mean, some people could see that as a free-to-play model, or you know, so I think that streaming and subscription services are probably going to you're going to start to see more of that, right? So it might be that, well, maybe the game isn't a 60-hour role-playing game, but maybe we launch with a 20-hour role-playing game, but every quarter we're adding 10 hours, right? Things like that. So I think I'd like to see experimentation of that, where we don't have to spend so many years doing, but we can get some kind of like core experience and start layering on top of it. So I'm very interested in sort of trying different models as these technologies come online. So I don't think about it in terms of like monetizing, but different models to give content out, right?
A lot of your games are rooted in humor. Battle Chess is actually one of those hilarious games. Wasteland's hilarious. Another game, Fallout, is really funny. So talk about like how do you get all these jokes and dark humor, and how do you make them work so well in your games?
It's things that make us laugh. I mean, it's always that case, right? I mean, usually it comes down to like, you know, we're in a room. Somebody says something that should happen, right? And you're like, oh, that'd be funny, right? And I'm like, write it down, right? Because that is the idea, right? Because usually what happens is somebody says something and everybody laughs and then everybody moves on, but nobody writes it down. But I know that's the dream idea. That's the one that has to go in. So I guess for me, I'm super focused on the little things, because those little things are the things that you remember. And with any most entertainment mediums, whether it's a book or a film, it's the scene that I remember more than anything when I walk out of the theater, more than I don't usually walk out and go, what a plot, right? I mean, I usually walk out like, how about that fight scene, you know? I mean, what was like the Kingsman, right? Like, remember the fight scene in the church? And that was like a badass scene. Like, that I'll remember for the rest of my life. You know, the plot, okay, whatever, right? But that fight scene I'll remember. So I'm always focused on the moments.
How do improvements in technology, for example, like ray tracing is the next big tech, does that affect you in your game development at all? Do you think about that kind of stuff? Does it come up in conversations?
We do. We try to think about the tech and how we're going to use it. And of course, there's always a trade-off. Well, what's the performance that we're going to take, and what do we want to do with it? But we, yes, we always have to consider it, because we know that the visual bar is going to keep rising, and you know, we want to tell a story and we want to do all these fun things, but we also know at the same time we're going to be held to a standard. We're going to be held to a visual standard, whether we like it or not, you know, and so we have to consider all those things as we do it. So again, that's why we're like super fortunate because of the Microsoft acquisition, because they were like, okay, Brian, go, right? So now they've given us all the tools, and we brought on so much talent in the last couple of months. I mean, just top animators, tech artists, tech directors. I mean, really, I mean, I've seen our bar climb, you know, internally in the last months, you know, higher than I've ever seen it go before.
The Wasteland series has always been about stories. So what is the story in Wasteland 3, as much as you're allowed to tell us?
Well, it's really, I mean, I touched a little bit on the story with the patriarch, but it's really what's the journey. I mean, to me, it's the journey along the way is what I'm most focused on, and so it's a whacked out journey, is what it is, and so for me, what I love about what we've done with Wasteland 2 and with Wasteland 3, it's letting you play it the way you want, right? And setting up these wild circumstances, right? Letting you make the decision and letting you go down like these rabbit holes, right? And paying them off. To me, that's the fun part, right? And subsequently, letting you do things and making you feel horrible, right? When you do it, right? And sometimes we even go like, hey, there's an old couple and they got their prize laser rifle that their son left them before he died, you know, and you're like, I can really use that laser rifle, you know, but meanwhile, you off the old couple, you feel like a real shitheel, right? But the game's easier, right? And you feel bad, right? That's the beauty of a role-playing game. So I love setting up those situations. So I'm totally into the journey along the way and the way we make you feel. We even have different endings along the way too. I don't know, what most people don't know. It's like, if you want to like be like the evil guy, it's not like you do something and the game ends. It's like you go further and further, and finally the game ends and the credits roll, and like you get an alternate ending that is not like the ending, but a different ending that you got to, because we think that's a natural evolution of the conclusion of what would have happened had you decided to take that route. So yes, there's the ending where you go up to Arizona. The patriarch has said, hey, come on, I got 3 kids, they're all vying for power, I need to deal with them. Don't kill my kids, don't kill them, but I need you to help me wrestle with them. Now, of course, you want to go kill his kids, that's going to be one problem, or you could take anyone, you could deal with the kids any number of different ways. I don't want to spoil anything, or a whole other route. You know, there's a lot of ways this thing could play out. And so it's the journey along the way is what matters.
So Brian, when does your game come out and what platforms will it be on?
Well, all I'm going to tell you is spring next year.
Okay, that's better than 2020. We'll take it.
And it's not going to be April 14th or 16th, whenever
April 1st.
Yeah, whenever Cyberpunk's coming out. We're not coming out that day.
Dear God, give it the
we're
wide
not
berth.
coming out that day. And no, sorry. Oh, it's coming out on all the formats, same day.